What does it mean to live life to the fullest, train to your potential, and perform at your best?
Leave nothing on the table. That's a non-negotiable, is that I strive to be better every day. Because if I'm not on top of my game, how's anybody else going to follow me down the road?
Keep demanding more of yourself to live up to that potential and to stay hungry.
Training is progress. When I look at the word training, I think of steps, baby steps to get somewhere that you want to be. And that is basically your life journey.
It's a mindset in itself, man. It's like, it's not just about, I know that for you, a lot of that's about the physical, but we're constantly in training, whether it's growing our skill sets, whether it's growing our physical bodies, whether it's growing our relationships, whatever. And all of that's a training ground. And that kind of goes back to the mindset that we just talked about.
You underestimate yourself and you don't even start. But then once you start, you often surpass what you thought you could do.
Perform at your best, mate. That's sort of what life is all about. I want to have the knowledge, I want to have the fitness, the health, the ambition and drive that no matter what comes along, when that next phone call comes, I can just say yes. I don't have to worry. Just go and do it.
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Live, Train, Perform podcast. I'm your host, Sean Kober. During this episode, I'm joined by Lizzie Wright, who has made an appearance on the podcast many, many times. I've interviewed her, and we've also had her on to contribute to the Coaches Corner episodes, where we sit down and discuss, as coaches, what we see happening in the industry, as well as some of the tools, techniques, strategies, tactics that we're using with our clients. Now, I'm recording this intro on the 17th of March. A number of weeks ago, Lizzie reached out to me and asked if we could jump on a call so she could pick my brain after a number of big changes in her life recently, including returning back to the UK after many years based out of Singapore, as well as changing from coaching face-to-face clients to building her online business. And she was kind of at a little bit of a crossroads. She didn't really know exactly where she was or what she was doing, what she was working towards. So we had a great discussion around her hierarchy of values, creating clarity, prioritizing tasks, and also allocating time and energy levels to different tasks. So we decided to record this episode, share it with the audience because there's plenty of actionable takeaways. Now, there was a couple of components where I was explaining my calendars that I use to create my schedule and to organize my thoughts, organize my priorities and my task lists. That's actually going to be uploaded to the YouTube channel. There's quite a few visual components to that. So if you're interested in that side of the things, make sure you go to my YouTube channel, which is at Performance Functional Training. Other than that, this was a great conversation. I think there's going to be plenty of takeaways for you guys, the audience. So let's get this episode underway.
Yeah, everything's good. Everything's a bit better since when I messaged you, whenever it was only last week, was it? Or was it the week before? Things are good. Just getting kind of grounded and finally settling into a bit of that change and like actually understanding where I'm at, like kind of like I've gone through a couple of months of like going, what the fuck am I doing? To actually now like, okay, cool. This is like the new set of standards for yourself and the lifestyle and everything you're creating. And to really just home in on that and stop living a life based on how I had everything managed in Singapore and now starting to recreate the new set of ways. And I think that's the biggest shift, for me is like having those changes and just feeling it and just being totally present around it. It's good. So it's better.
What was the message that you sent me?
What?
It was like 10 days ago where you're like, hey, I need to talk. I need some Sean wisdom.
What? Should I pick it? I don't know. That was it. That was it. I wanted you just to literally give me some words. Where was it?
It was about 10 days ago-ish. 10 days, 2 weeks ago. So you obviously moved back home. You're going through that transition process, being in Singapore for a long time. Back into a different environment now, and all of your I guess like habits that you'd built and the way you went about things had completely changed and been thrown on its head, and now you're trying to figure out how to best put it all back together. Is that correct?
Yeah. No, I think, and that's the difference, right? It's like Singapore I was so regimented, I was so disciplined, and that had been built for the last 8 years. And then I've just completely flipped it on its head and then gone. But to me, living in that headspace of being so disciplined to being in total kind of like almost like a freak out going, I don't even recognize myself. What am I doing?
Went from,
I'm not even in any routine.
You went from order to chaos.
Yeah. Basically. And like everything from weather to like living back with parents to independence to all of those things were just like, they were challenged. But I know the whole time when I was going through it though, I knew why I was doing it. It was hard, like it was an internal battle of going, remember why you did it, and this is the way you wanted that challenge, because everything was continually being easy enough to the point where I needed to be in that challenge, and I saw it for myself. Then obviously actually in the thick of it, you're like, oh my God, like, and it wasn't, when I look at it now and even still going through obviously the changes, it's not as extreme as it could be, but it's obviously within my story and kind of what I'm used to, and then to then really kind of reestablishing myself. And I think that's the key, is like, who am I? Like you said, that was the biggest thing, like what are your values? And then the biggest shift for me and what I came away with a lot of stuff was what lifestyle am I creating? And to stop comparing my lifestyle from Singapore to here. Because the moment I stopped actually comparing, things really started to make a shift. Because I was just, which is natural, and we say that on so many other levels. And it comes up in my coaching all the time, stop comparing. But I'd come into this whole thick of it and being in London and seeing all these fitspos and like people like smashing it and stuff. And then I automatically just went from feeling confident in everything in myself to going, shit, I've got to level up, I've got to step up, you know? And I think it was the reason that, again, I wanted to be around people who were going to create that scenario, but I almost went the other way of the comparison just led me to being like, shit, what have you done? You're not going to be good enough in the UK or let alone the global standard and the vision that I'm creating myself. So I had those thoughts. But now this new space in the next few months is just really creating that message about who I am and having that differentiation, because I'm not someone who's grown up in London or the UK recently. Everything I've been learning and have learned on my journey is abroad. So it's kind of using that and everything I've gone through on that larger scale to embed with the message and everything I want to do.
So when you did reach out to me and, you know, said, I need some of your wisdom, what would you do in this situation? And the first thing I said was like, reassess and write down what your values are. And you obviously did that. What did that do for you?
Well, I got to like reflect back and look at where my values were, obviously in Singapore, and kind of the lifestyle that I was leading. And obviously it's hot sunshine, it's shorts, t-shirt, bikini, beach, and easy, very easy life for me. It was there, and my journey to work was 6 minutes while I was cycling. Didn't have too much for me, and the lifestyle I created didn't have too many outgoings in the sense of bringing it back here. And obviously the independence was so huge in Singapore, to then coming back here was going through to living with my parents, which I already established was a good move for now. It's not a permanent move, but it is the move to help me build the business I'm in. But I think it's definitely just that culture shock of, obviously I came back in the thick of winter, so the days were so short and dark, and I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? But when I wrote down like the values of actually understanding the lifestyle of what I want to create, is the UK isn't a permanent residency for me right now, you know, and that was always the goal. It wasn't ever just to move back here and be like, cool, that's it, you're paying tax, you're a citizen back here, you're going to be working full time, you're going to go PT in the gyms. Like, that was never the vision. The vision was build the business online, realign those values towards an online self and how I coach, to then traveling the world. Like, the mission this year is to explore, meet people from all around the world, kind of build that global message, as opposed to just sectioning myself to Singapore and the UK. It's to go beyond and bigger than that. So I think when I actually assessed my values was, look, you're not stuck anymore. And it's like Singapore, I think for me, like I could go back there at some point if I wanted to, but for me, it was the point of I was almost stuck there with the visa and like the expansion and the company I was with, like they were great, but I'd reached the top of it. So I think almost coming back here, I felt stuck. In the sense that, oh, now what I'm just staying here. I'm just in the UK. And obviously friends are happy, family are happy. Like, oh, she's back. She's going to be back. Like, blah, blah. And I was just like, well, hold on. Like, this isn't a permanent move right now. I'm not in this 2022 for me is reestablishing myself, being flexible, adapting, and showing myself I can book a ticket and go anywhere. Because I still haven't done it. But that is on the list. I'm going in at the start of March. And that is, again, it seems to be a ticket thing that seems to make me all these changes. But I think now it's knowing I'm not stuck, and the new values are based around the freedom, based around the countries I want to go to and travel, and being that person for me and no one else. And I think that's a big thing I've been working on more than I've realized, is redefining kind of the blueprint of like society in terms of settling down and having a house and like all of these things. So I think it's a lot bigger than I actually ever imagined, or anticipated with the change.
So writing down those values gave you a little bit more clarity, and it kind of put your mind at ease, because obviously those values had changed since you left Singapore. You're in a completely new environment. You're going through a transitional period where you are transitioning your business, where you have transitioned your business, or the majority of it online, which is then going to allow you the freedom to then, go and travel and meet people and run retreats and shit like that around the world. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, cool. So that's like, obviously a more longer term, that's your values. That's what you are working towards. All right. Now, that should give you a pretty good insight into what you need to be doing right now. So, if that's your overall value and where you see yourself in the next year or two, what do you need to do in the next month? What do you need to do in the next week? What do you need to do on a day-to-day basis to start ticking those boxes?
That's the question, what for me to answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I'm live already.
I know, I was slowly figuring, oh yeah, we're live. So I think the initial part for me is having to refocus and look at what that is, like you said, in the next year. So looking at that bigger picture and looking at it as like the one main thing. So for me, I have my whiteboard. So the focus, I put 3 focuses, is the online coaching. So really drive that business and show how many more people I can reach. Then bringing the adventure into the adventure retreats. And then the self-development. So how can I constantly develop this year? 1, in my education for coaching, but 2, in behavioral change. And then obviously myself is putting myself out there constantly. So into like new environments and travel and booking those tickets and being okay with that new lifestyle. So when it comes down to like that breakdown, is I've really been working hard to know and to put in place of now new disciplines of what my week will look like in terms of where I'm at. So it doesn't matter if I'm in Thailand or if I'm in Mexico or if I'm in somewhere else, I will still have these tasks that I need to complete every day of the week. Because I think that's the big part, is like, I know I need to adapt and be flexible, but I also need discipline in my days and my weeks. Otherwise I won't really do anything.
Get shit done.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm starting, again, it's still a couple of weeks away from really refining, but it's still coming together. It's like Mondays are all my client check-in days where I communicate with them, get them everything ready for the week. I have certain days where I'm going to have calls with clients, days that I don't have calls with clients. Then I have brand building days. So obviously like with website to social media, to building the content through there, to then now I've upped the ante on the podcast. Now I've got more time to do it. So it's again, just having those things that are going to be remaining the same no matter where I am. And I think that's so crucial for me, especially from someone who does thrive off discipline, that I need to know that I'm still having these check boxes done. So I've given myself now, is like, before I was like, January, you're going to be ground running, you're going to be doing this and this, which 6 weeks in, I'm still figuring shit out like in this part. So And I'm okay with that now. I've come to that realization and said, look, the first 3 months are you grounding yourself, you figuring everything out, setting the foundations around your clients, any new protocols, systems, financial stuff I need to figure out, and all of that stuff. That's all in this first 3 months, as well as kind of that development side. And then April beyond is when everything else starts to come into play in terms of driving the business the next kind of chapter.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel conflicted with what you need to do and what you want to do, not only on a daily basis, but a weekly basis?
Oh,
and, yeah.
Yeah, it's still trying to, again, like it's still in that kind of foggy place. Like I'm clear, but then I'm not clear. You know, there's days where I'm like, yes, I've got this. I've got it. And then like a day later or 2 days later, I'm like, oh, like I've just, that whole momentum and life has just kind of gone, okay, now what?
Is that because you're planning your days, but then you're having to react to things? And then those things that you're reacting to then take up a lot more time than you anticipate, and then that's leaving you on the back foot and going like, fuck, I've got so much on my plate at the moment?
To an extent, yes. And I think definitely the first 6 weeks of like January to now has been. I've been a lot more regimented in terms of just 3 things you need to do today. Like literally, I've kept it so simple in the fact like, because before I literally wrote a list of 10 things, and I'm a high achiever and I like doing that, but I set the bar way too high that I was like, yeah, I'm not doing any of that today, or yeah, someone's just called me, so whatever. But now I've been way more regimented, definitely in the starts of my day. So I'll start reading my book the first 15 minutes of the day. I'm not allowed to touch my phone. Alarm just switches off. So I try and keep in an early morning rise, read my book, do my 30 minutes of study, and then I have my task then to complete. So I'm not, again, it's trying to create a more of a, don't look at the things like your emails and the phone that are going to distract me from the task that I need to do. So it's creating more smaller blocks of productive time.
I've struggled with this before as well. And I mean, it's a constant adjustment, right? Like, you know, we go through these seasons of life, and whilst I was away for 3.5 months to Russia, UAE, India, you know, I was focused on, you know, fight camp with Jan. And then I was focused on the project in India, and I didn't have time for, you know, or much time for other things. So I really had to prioritize what I was doing. And, you know, I wasn't doing any study whilst I was away. I was still keeping up to date with the podcasts. That was my second priority, was keeping the podcast, because I made a promise to myself. I'm like, I'm going to fucking put out a podcast every week.
Yeah.
And it's been almost 2 years now, coming up 2 years in
crazy,
May.
Isn't it? How quick that's gone. I remember when we first started talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when I got back from the gig in India, I've had to, again, write down my values and restructure my days and have a look at my day-to-day, my week-to-week, what I'm focused on for the month, etc. And, you know, I'm constantly adjusting that. I'm constantly changing that. And, you know, the biggest piece of advice I can give is, you know, sometimes it's not about adding more things in. Sometimes it's about taking things out. So, you know, I've been so busy over the last couple of months since I've been back. Like, I'm in a position, I was just saying to you offline, like I'm in a position now where I'm turning people away, and I'm saying like, I can't take on any more PTs at the moment. And the only PTs I've got at the moment, general population PTs I've got at the moment, they're paying me very fucking good money.
Yeah,
you know, and then the rest of the work that I'm doing is with professional fighters, you know, so that's taken up a lot of my time. And then my own training's taken a little bit of a hit as well. And I've had to completely restructure my own training. And this year for me has been, it's going to be about, you know, earning respect and credibility in martial arts, combat sports. So I haven't done any lifting for the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I haven't done any training in the gym for like the last 6 weeks. I'm, you know, doing jiu-jitsu a couple times a week. I'm doing boxing once or twice a week. I'm doing MMA once or twice a week. You know, so I've had to completely restructure my training. And normally I love training first thing in the morning.
Yes.
But right now my training is like happening in the evening, which means that I've got more time in the morning to dedicate towards certain things. And, you know, after getting back from India, like the project that I was working on over there, I won't talk about it too much, but we were filming with a prominent network, which is going to be live in the next couple of months. And once that goes live, like my profile is going to explode, particularly through Southeast Asia. So what I'm really focusing on now is building out my online side of the business, building out a website, having some training programs. So, you know, I've been busy recording training programs, you know, transcribing these podcast episodes, organizing them into ebooks, things like that. So I can have, and then I'm, you know, looking to build out my website. So that's become, you know, quite high on my list of priorities, where my training's taken a little bit of a backseat. My study's taken a backseat. I'm not studying at the moment because I'm so like intent on putting my time, energy and effort into building out this online platform. You know, and that's something that you might need to have a look at as well is, you know, instead of adding more things into your day or into your week, maybe you need to start taking things out. Like I love fucking getting up in the morning and sitting on my balcony and having a coffee, watching the sunrise and then reading for 30 minutes, you know, but because that's not my priority right now, like I've had to cut that away, you know, but I still get that in every now and again. Like once I get off this podcast, I'm going to lay in bed and read. Like I haven't watched any Netflix for like 2 weeks, you know, so I just start, you know, I've still got those things that are still important to me, but I then just start reordering them. So, you know, if my work is my priority, if I'm, you know, planning on building my website, editing training programs, filming, et cetera, you know, I'm doing that first thing in the morning now. You know, instead of reading, I'm now doing that first thing more. I still go onto my balcony, I still have my coffee, watch the sunrise, but then I do my meditation for 5 minutes, have a quick stretch, boom. All right, now I'm straight into the work. Right. And then I'll get like 45 minutes to an hour of work before I then need to leave and go to the gym. And then I'm like back to back with clients. And then I might have, you know, an hour to eat, do my social media stuff. And then I'll come home. I'm doing some more editing, you know, maybe recording a podcast or uploading or doing the social media stuff for the podcast. And then I've got more clients and then I've got my own training. And then, you know, I might only get my reading in the afternoon. Or if I've got client calls, that's when I'm kind of batching my client calls and I try and get them all in within like a, you know, a couple of hour block. And, you know, I kind of habit stack on top of that and go, right, well, I've got 2 hours of client calls from this period. I'm going to make sure that I go and lay by my pool and get some sunshine, etc. So, you know, it's not like I'm not doing certain things that are important to me, but I'm just simply reordering them. And if I, you know, don't get any reading done today, if I don't get any study done today, I'm okay with that. However, when I was going through, you know, that lockdown period, I was making sure that I was getting my study done early in the morning because that was important to me at that time. But that's now been bumped down the totem pole in favor of other things that I have to get done.
True. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that's, again, I'm still in more of that like assessment phase of like what's working, what's not working. And like you said, I'm getting up. It might be a case I just need to get up a little bit earlier just to get the reading in. Like for me, definitely study is up there. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's assess constantly what is working and what's not and what's taking that priority. And I think one of the biggest shifts for me is obviously I was in your place not long ago last year where where you really have to be so regimented because you're dealing with people online, you're dealing with people in person, you're also trying to build your website, build all the business and branding and podcast and everything like that. So for me, I found that easier because I was so regimented to turn up to all those different things and they had to. Whereas now I have to, but on the other side, if Lizzie's feeling tired, I could like just turn around and jump on my bed if I wanted to. Or so it's trying to create that structure to keep dangling that carrot in front of me to know how to keep moving forward, you know? So I can be anywhere whenever I want to be, and that's a good thing, and it can also be an absolute nightmare at the same time. So getting used to that is another thing.
Gotcha. All right, I've got a perfect tactic for you then. Have you heard of ultradian rhythm?
No. I'm writing it down. Can you spell it, please?
Have you heard of Pomodoro technique?
No.
Okay, so ultradian rhythm is basically we work well in roughly 90-minute blocks. Okay, so if you look at circadian rhythm, when we go to sleep, our sleep cycles work in roughly 90-minute blocks. So, you know, our energy levels throughout the day essentially work in these 90-minute blocks-ish, right? So what I do is in the morning or the night before, I'll actually write out my schedule and I'll make sure I've got a blue pen, I've got a black pen, I've got a red pen, and I color code what I'm putting in my schedule. And the things that I write in black, that's the shit that I have to do. That's the stuff that I'm getting paid for. That's my face-to-face clients. That's my client calls. That's my business meetings. That's my team meetings, work meetings, etc. That stuff's in black. And like, I fucking put that stuff in, boom, that's locked in. Okay. The next thing I'll do is put in red, my things that I'm doing to fill my own cup, whether that's training, that's eating, that's doing, you know, my whatever might be, you know, a little bit of podcasting or reading or going for a walk along the beach, whatever that might be. Okay. I'll block out times for that. I'll put that in red. Okay. And then I put things in blue, things that I would like to get done, and I'll put them in order of priority. So, you know, that's my podcast, that's my study, that might be meeting up with a friend for, you know, a coffee or whatever it might be. All right, so then I know, like, my black things I have to get done. Doesn't matter what my energy levels are like. Okay, now if I have a poor night's sleep, and I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, fuck, man, I feel really tired. And, you know, at 6:30 in the morning, I've got in blue or red, go out onto my balcony and read and, you know, have 30 minutes there. But I wake up and I'm tired and I'm like, all right, what's more important right now? Probably getting a little bit more sleep. So then I'll readjust my alarm and then I'll go back to sleep. And I know that reading is probably going to get pushed later to the day. And if I don't get it done, then that's okay. And then what I'm doing throughout the day is essentially adjusting those things in blue and in red to align with my energy levels. Now, I know sometimes if I've got, you know, an hour in the morning, I've got an hour break, and, you know, I can either choose to eat or I can choose to train in that time. I'm looking at what I've got after that. If I know that I've got, you know, probably 4-hour block of coaching class, coaching clients, then I'm probably not going to train in that time if I'm not going to have a chance to eat. Or if I am eating, I'm going to be rushing. So I'm like, right, I'm going to fucking eat in that time. Even though I had in my schedule, I'm going to train. So then I'm just simply readjusting my schedule.
Yeah.
So I'm being proactive, writing my schedule out, but then I'm also being reactive and flexible on the day. And then I simply look at my schedule and go, all right, cool. Well, I've got an hour and a half between this client and the next client. Maybe I can get a 30-minute training session in. And then I'm going to sit down, I'm going to eat, I'm going to give myself 40 minutes to get some food in. Or maybe, you know, I make myself a super shake at home where maybe I'll go and sit. That's probably a better option for me. I'm going to get 30 minutes of training in. I'm going to go and, you know, sit by my pool, get some sunshine, make my super shake, which is like 1,000 calories, and then go through my social media stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll get up and then I'll go and train my clients or do whatever I need to do. And I'm simply adjusting my tasks to suit my energy levels. And there's going to, you know, as you know, there's things that come up where, it requires high amounts of energy. Like if I'm recording a podcast, like a series or something like that, and I'm researching and I'm writing, I'm taking notes and I'm, you know, recording, that takes me a lot of energy. So if I'm a little bit tired, I haven't slept very well that day, you know, maybe I'm not going to record. Maybe I'll just take the notes. Maybe I'll do some research for that. Or maybe go, you know what, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to push that to tomorrow, and something else that's lower on the totem pole, I'm going to bring up now that doesn't take me as much energy. Okay. And that might be, what's an example? Maybe I've already recorded a podcast. Now I just need to edit it. Now I need to upload it. Now I need to, schedule that in. Now I'm going to do the social media stuff, put together the YouTube videos, then break that down into, the Instagram snippets, etc., etc. I'm still working on the same thing, but the energy requirements for those two different tasks are completely different. So then I'm just simply readjusting my schedule to suit that. So that's essentially what ultradian with rhythm is. It's looking at your energy levels and then assigning tasks to suit those energy levels, because there's always going to be shit that you need to get done. There's always going to be shit that you want to get done. And there's always going to be those little fucking errands that just pop up throughout the day that, you just kind of need to tick off the list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's definitely, it's stuff I have been working on, but obviously not having a label to it, but also not as specific as the kind of the color coding. But I think it makes so much sense that even when it comes down to, like you said, like with social media or like podcast uploading and everything, and they're similar tasks that I have as well. And it doesn't require that much brain power to go through certain things, especially when we've been doing it a number of times. And I have made that a focus. Like sometimes I do like the sparkly, quick things to do. So it knows and I feel like I've achieved something quickly. So I know for me, it's again, having those moments where I'm not distracted for those things and know they are going to happen in the day, but it's just scheduling that time in the day. And like you said, for me, the 90 minutes will be one that I'd have to work around because, I think for me initially it's been 40 minutes I put on the timer on my phone. I literally launch my phone away, hide it away, and I just stop when that buzzes off. So that's one thing that's really helped me, is really set that timer and go more for like the 40 minutes, and then I just stop, like literally get off my chair, dance, do whatever, stretch, and have a little 5-minute break, and then I'll get back to it. So I definitely, that's something I definitely will start looking at tomorrow.
That's essentially the Pomodoro technique that you're talking about. Or a variation of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
A shorter attention span.
Yeah, exactly. But the next stage to that is going, well, yes, you're already doing that, but then also going, what are my energy levels like? Typically most people have energy crashes in the afternoon, like just after lunch around, 1:30 to 3 o'clock ish. Yeah. And that's part of our natural circadian rhythm where our hormones start changing and, we start getting a little bit tired. And this is where a lot of, countries have siestas. Yeah. A lot of people from certain countries have siestas, right?
Not
like
the
this
UK.
is
or maybe me now.
Well, you're in a position to do that. So, that's simply working with your energy levels. So, you're already using that technique. So the next step to that is then going, when do I have most of my energy? Because here's the thing. Do you enjoy reading?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Does it take you much energy?
No.
That's right. So you could be using that energy first thing in the morning for something else. Right, you already enjoy reading. I already enjoy reading. So if I'm not reading first thing in the morning, then I'm still going to enjoy reading in the afternoon. Or in the evening. It's not going to take me that much energy. So for me, most of my energy is first thing in the morning, and as I go through the day, that energy starts depleting. So, simply swapping my day and getting more important things that require more energy, more resources, getting that shit done early in the morning makes a lot more sense for me. Like, make the most important thing the most important thing. Yeah. If it requires high amounts of energy, then you need to make sure that you're assigning those tasks to those times where you do have high amounts of energy.
Yeah. And I think it is really key as well. And there's parts for me, obviously, now I've gone in from being a very active job to being very computer-led. So, again, it's all of those different parts of your environment that I'm really trying to change to, because I was hit, I started off doing, workouts in the morning. So I'd go off to the gym at, 6 a.m. And then I was like, well, no, because by the time I'm back, I'm distracted. I've not had breakfast. And then it's, coming on to, 8, half 8, 9 by the time I've settled down. And I've lost my whole morning. So the workouts come out in the afternoon, evening now, which is something very new to me in my adult years. So that's getting used to that. But I have one of my breaks. So if I've worked for 3 hours in the morning, I'll go for an hour walk with the dog. So again, I have that breakup point, and actually from those, I found them the most therapeutic, but also if I'm stuck on ideas, I come back way more creative, way more enthused. So it's more like my between 9 and 11 a.m. walk. I'll go, and then I'm ready for the next, so I'll normally try and do it in 3 things in the day, block it into 3 parts of the day. And then obviously anything more in the evening is great if it's those smaller kind of bits to do. But yeah, so it's always, from that I've realised if I don't move, and obviously if I've taken the training away, I need to walk or do something, because I then just go, oh my God, I haven't done anything. I feel like crap. I just need to get outside,
It's reinvigorating to get that mental break, to get out, get some fresh air, get the legs moving, get the blood moving, get the lymphatic system working, detoxing, because that's the only way the lymphatic system works, right? It doesn't have a pump like the heart does for the cardiovascular system. So the lymphatic system only works by the muscles pumping. Here's something else to think about as well. Do you have Audible?
I do, and I do listen to Audible, and I do listen to podcasts when I'm walking. Sometimes I don't, because again, I want to be, there's a point where I reach too much information. I actually just want to hear myself think. So I vary it. So sometimes I'll listen to a podcast, sometimes I won't, or Audible. But I do really like flicking the pages. I love the pages of the book, and I'm a real visual learner. So for me to actually see words, I can start to get an emotional attachment, rather than just Audible all the time. Normally, if I've got Audible, I'll probably buy the book and read that as well.
Okay, well that was going to be my next point. Would you listen to an audio book, but also have that book at home? So you're essentially getting your reading in the morning, and then if certain things come up, you take note of what page that's on in the audio book, and then you might get your highlighter and highlight that in the evening before you go to bed. So then you're taking that information that you've learned throughout the day that's caught your attention, and then you're reinforcing that information by highlighting it, making your notes prior to going to bed, which then allows you to reinforce that information whilst you go to sleep and let that sink into your brain.
Into my brain. Yeah, give me all the knowledge. That could be an option for sure. I definitely think just from what you said, it's just taking that time now, a bit more mature in the change of journey, and all the circumstances is now I've gained enough kind of experience and enough knowledge on what's going on, what I'm liking, what I'm not liking. Like you said, it's so individual into that. It's we can give as much advice as we want, but it's something that might work for you, might not work for me, right? And I think that's just what's so important on all these journeys. Even as coaches, we can give all this advice, but I always say to my clients is, take this with a pinch of salt. I want you to look at these 3 different options, see what resonates with you the most, try out each one, give it a good go, and redefine it, relabel it, put it in your own words. I had a client this week or last week, we were talking about mindfulness and what she can get through in her week and things, and she just she wasn't doing it because the word wasn't resonating with her as much, because she was constantly I'm always in my mind. I don't want to be in my mind all the time. I was like, okay, cool. And then she came back to me a week later after I pushed her just to start finding different labels or different things. And she came back with heartfulness, so she could be more in tune with feeling and being and expressing in that way. So I think, just knowing we all have our own different learning and ways of doing it, but definitely different tools like that. I think they're so useful just to kind of have in your toolbox so that we can actually adapt to those different bits. But that starts to help clear it out. And I know definitely you've challenged me in my head. The bit I don't like you for is making me think about not reading in the morning, because I love that. But only read 15 minutes, but it stops me. The reason why I do it is I don't want to go straight onto my phone. And I know if I go straight on my phone, I'll probably be there for 30, 40 minutes because I don't have anywhere else technically to be. So it's always having those bits. And now maybe I've matured a bit more in the reading stage, that I might not need my phone and I can go do something else that's more
That's
into
right.
my work, right?
That's the thing. Like you think about what you just said then. I use that reading to stop me from getting on my phone. So maybe you've already built that discipline to then not pick up your phone, and maybe you can now swap the reading out for like, hey, the first thing I'm going to do is, you know, if you have something that you need to research for your online business or something that you need to get done that does take some of your energy, then, you know, you're cracking straight into that.
Yeah. But would you say that would you advise that was the first thing you'd do when you wake up?
It depends. No, I would still do, you know, for me, still taking that 5 minutes of mindfulness first thing in the morning where, you know, I get up and I take my ginger and turmeric shot, and then I brush my teeth and I open the blinds, and I'll take my heart rate variability and my blood pressure and check my sleep quality, etc. Then I'll like sit down and I'll write out my schedule, or I'll review my schedule that I've written out the night before. And then I'll go and sit on the balcony. I'll have a coffee or watch a sunrise. I'll do my 5 minutes of mindfulness. Okay. And then I'll come back into my desk, and then again, have another look at my schedule and go, all right, what's the most important thing that I need to get done? My energy levels are high. This is a high energy task. I've got 45 minutes. I'm going to get cracking on this right now. Boom. Or my energy levels are a little bit low. What's a low energy task? I'm going to, you know, find these low energy tasks. Those just those annoying things that need to get done. I'm going to get that done today, knowing that, hey, my energy is probably not going to get better throughout the day. Or maybe if I've got a little bit of time to train here, I'm going to make sure that I get a little bit of training in. I'm not hammering myself. I'm doing something that's going to add to my day, not take away from it. It's going to allow me to walk out of the gym feeling better than I walked in, and then go, all right, now my energy levels are moderate. What's a moderate energy task? And then I start adjusting that. And if I've got any high energy tasks that need to be done that day, maybe I can push that to the next day. You know, there's always going to be times where, you know, sometimes you just have to fucking grind through and just get some of those high energy tasks done with low energy, you know, but you want to try and minimize that as much as possible. And this is where, you know, being flexible with your week and being flexible with your days is really important for me. Like I've got two whiteboards in front of me. On the right whiteboard is 4 quadrants. In the top left quadrant, or on the top 2 columns, the 2 titles is urgent and not urgent. And then on the left-hand side is important and not important. Right? So those 4 quadrants are urgent and important. Guess what? That's a shit that I need to get done.
Yeah.
On the right-hand side is important but not urgent. Guess what? That quadrant's fucking full of stuff. That's all projects, right? But I don't need to do that right now. That's all stuff when I've like, hey, you know, maybe when I've got, you know, low energy, I can look at my not urgent but important things, and the first thing on the list is rename my podcast episodes. You know, that doesn't take me much energy. So
I was thinking that when we were talking just briefly, that was like one task I need to do for mine is how do I make this a little bit better?
Yeah, exactly. You know, one of those tasks is all my IGTV episodes that I put on social media over the last year or so. I want to transfer them. I want to put them up on YouTube. You know, so that stuff doesn't take that much time. It doesn't take that, or it does take time, but it doesn't take that much energy. Right? So when I've got those low energy days and, you know, I don't have those high energy tasks that I have to get done, that's when I'm like, all right, I'll have a look at that list. All right, what can I do there? Boom. And I'm still ticking the list. I'm still ticking those boxes, right? I'm still getting those wins. Right. Then down the bottom left-hand side is urgent but not important. This is the stuff that like just comes up.
This wrong way around. You're gonna have to tell me how it is again. But yeah, carry on.
So urgent but not important. This is the stuff that like comes up now. It's like, hey, can you can you send me your details for your online coaching program? Blah, blah, boom. I send them a quick email. Like, this is the stuff that's like, if I can do this in 2 minutes, I'm going to do it right now.
That's like my rule too. I always say that is like, and it's amazing how many times you can just get like 5 tasks done in like 10 minutes. And you're like, oh my God, I've just wasted a week just to get this shit done.
Yep.
And I could have just done it like within the matter of that. I always feel like it's a head process though sometimes.
Yeah,
when you're
but
trying to get
again,
yourself
it's
around it.
it's like batching that stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
right, here's those things that I need to get done. Like, they're not fucking urgent. Oh, sorry, they are urgent, but they're not super important. But it's just admin stuff that I've got to get done just to keep chipping away. And it's like, if I can batch a number of those things together, as you said, you can tick 5 things off the list in 10 minutes. Boom.
Yeah.
All right, there's some stress off your mind that you don't even have to worry about. Okay, then down the bottom right-hand quadrant is not urgent, not important. And for me, like, what I've got on my list there is like, organize my phone folders. Because I've got a new phone and I've transferred all my files from my old phone, and I'm like, it's a little bit messy, but I kind of know where everything is. It's not super important, like, it's not urgent. If it doesn't get done, like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. Okay, this is going to help me, this grid, I think, because that's definitely where I sometimes, like, and I think sometimes it just occupies your brain as well, right? Like, when it's not, definitely, like, sometimes in your phone it's not important. It is when it's like you're searching for something and it's like, if I would have done that, it would have been easier. But
yeah, but it takes a lot of time to get to that point.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, just sometimes having that in your head, but then actually when you get it out onto paper or you write it down, it can kind of clear and know, obviously, like you said, when you put it in a compartment, it makes it a lot easier to kind of digest, and you don't waste too much time kind of thinking about those things. You know it's going to get done at some point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually going to go through these whiteboards again in a little bit more detail just now, because I have had people reach out to me and ask, like, when they see my photos and videos and stuff, they're like, what's on your whiteboards? How do you organize your shit? Okay, so I'll go through that in a little bit more detail.
My notepad and pen, let's go.
Okay, so what I want you to do is draw 4 quadrants, a line straight down the middle and a line across the middle.
Okay. Oops, I don't know what I just drew then. Yeah, I literally just started drawing lines. Yeah, okay,
all right,
got it.
So you've got 4 quadrants, right? 4 squares. Yeah. Now, in the top left quadrant, up the top, right, urgent.
Top left, urgent.
Across the top.
Yeah.
And then that same quadrant across the side.
Yeah.
Up is important.
Okay, now I see where we're at. Yeah.
And then on the top right quadrant is not urgent. And then the bottom left quadrant, up the side, is not important. So what you should have is the top left quadrant is urgent and important. Top right quadrant is not urgent, but important. Bottom left is urgent, not important. And then bottom right is not urgent, not important.
Oh, I love this.
This will help you organize your thoughts so much easier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
This is and it's so simple as well, isn't it? It's like, and in your head, you kind of think these things, but again, they're just still there floating around. So it distracts you more than you actually do things.
We've talked about this before, right? Like, writing things down is a way to organize your thoughts. And then once you organize your thoughts, then you prioritize them. All right, where does this slot into this quadrant? Is this sweet? Like, it's written down. This is important, but it's not urgent. That means I don't have to do that right now. I don't have to think about it. But it's written down. Once I get a chance, maybe in 2 weeks' time, or I'm, feeling a little bit creative on a Sunday afternoon where I've been, out with my friends and I've had a good morning. I've had some brunch and I've had a massage and I've got home early and I'm feeling good. My creative juices are flowing. Cool. What's on my list there? All right. I can tick some of that stuff off over the next 40 minutes to an hour and a half or whatever. All right.
Will you use this to do it? Will you do this a new one every week, or are you doing this based on a month, or where is it with you on this?
Yeah, so this one, I'm constantly taking things off, putting things on.
Back on, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like I'll it's either Sunday night or Monday morning. I'll have a look at things that are on my board, and I'll rub things off, or I'll add things on. But that's only one of my boards. My other board on my left-hand side, I've got, this one's kind of a little bit messier, probably a little bit more difficult to explain, but basically what I've got is 7 squares along the top, and each square is probably about 2 inches, 2 by 2 inches. Okay, 7 squares Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Okay, and then underneath that, I've got a 2-inch line with 2 columns.
2-inch line. Nearly done my 7 boxes. Say that again.
Okay, so under the 7 boxes, pretty much the same distance, that 2-inch box from the top of the whiteboard or the page. Then there's another, and then right under that, you'll have one line about 2 inches below that, going across the full page, and then you'll have a line that splits that in 2.
All the way down.
All the way down.
Like a T.
Like a T. All right, perfect. Now, in the top left one, underneath the Monday to Sunday boxes, is my monthly focus.
Wait, underneath those 7 boxes?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in that big rectangle, is my monthly focus.
Okay. Yep.
And then on the right rectangle is my weekly focus.
Yep.
All right. In the big blocks, left on the bottom left and the bottom right corner, the left column is personal, and then I've got 3 headings underneath that down the left-hand side. So personal is the heading at the top of that column.
Hold on. In this big one here.
Yep. So the title there is going to be personal.
Yep.
And then down the left-hand side is my top priority, my priority, and my errands.
Okay.
Okay, then on the right-hand side is the title is work, is my main heading.
Yep.
So that's in the middle, right up the top. And then down the left-hand side, again, top priority, priority, and errands.
Nice. Yep. I had a few littles. I think I made that work. Okay.
All
Can I
right.
check? He's just checking for reference.
Perfect. All right, sweet. Now you've got all my secrets, Lizzie. Yes. And so does the audience.
It's a good
all right,
thing.
so basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at my schedule, either the night before or the morning. I'll definitely review it in the morning if I have written it the night before. Okay. And then I'm looking at my board on the right side, which is my quadrants. And I go, right, what do I need to do here? Boom, boom, boom. I start slotting them in, right? And then if something is urgent and important, then I'm looking at my day and going, right, that's my number one thing. That's the first thing that I write there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, my monthly focus for this month is write up my phase training programs and start filming. Okay. My weekly focus for this week is to film my strength program. Right. So then I start looking at my days and go, when can I get this time in here? I'm going to need at least 4 hours. So I can either split that up over these days, or maybe I just fucking get in and do 4 or 5 hours of filming on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Yeah,
cool.
I think that's I think it's like using those together is super
Absolutely.
important as well, because it gives that you kind of have that organized chaos, and then it starts to become really refined, and actually you see. I think that's the difference, right? We're so work focused some of the time that we forget, like when our personal side of things come in, we forget about those things, or vice versa, and they eat into each other. But I think having the overall kind of monthly focus is key, definitely.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. It's not just about the day to day. Like, that's why I organize my week like this. I organize my month like this. It's because I know, hey, you know what? Like, you know, I've got like a Tuesday and Thursday. They're like full black days for me in my schedule. Like, that's the shit that I'm getting paid for. I'm like fucking like back to back to back to back to back with clients and calls and blah, 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 you know, so I know that by the time, you know, I get some time in the afternoon, my energy level is going to be low. So, you know, I'm probably not going to be filming my training programs on those days. You know, I'm not going to be recording podcast episodes on those days. You know, those are the days where I'm probably going to be editing and uploading and, you know, writing, you know, transferring things to YouTube and doing social media posts and all that type of stuff that don't take as much energy. And I'm looking at the week as a whole rather than, you know, I need to get this shit done today, or I need to get this shit done every day, which actually brings me to my next point. Do you have free time in your schedule on a daily basis?
I do. Define free time. What would you define free time as?
Like a chunk of time where you don't have anything scheduled, you don't have like eating or whatever, you know, time where you can kind of catch up and you can put out those fires and you can pick up those things that come in that are urgent but not important, that need to get done. Or maybe they're urgent and important that need to get done now. Because if you don't schedule those things in, if you don't schedule in that time, then you're not giving yourself time to put out those fires and be reactive. Because here's the thing, like we fucking have to be reactive. We can be as proactive as we want. We can plan and be as disciplined as we want. But at the end of the day, like if something comes into your day and throws a spanner in the works, then that throws the entire rest of the day out, which then throws your mindset out because you're like, oh, well, I didn't do this and I didn't do this and I didn't do this. And now you're playing catch up the next day. And then those things that you had planned for the next day get pushed to the next day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that is super important to label it as well. And again, I think labeling is key with all of these areas of actually knowing what to call them, and almost, I guess, like free time in the sense, like sometimes I think when you don't plan things, then you think, oh, it's just free time, I can do whatever, and I kind of go off course. But kind of redefining what free time means, that's why I just wanted to know where you stood on that part. And
gotcha.
I definitely have it, but I don't structure it. So like you said, with the putting out the fires, like this morning, my main focus, my main block of work I was doing was all client focus. So it was sending my emails, it was rewriting the new emails for next week, so I was preparing ahead of time. It was going through all my True Coach and getting back to clients on their form, on their workouts, on their Sunday check-ins. And then in that time, I had access to my business account on WhatsApp, and I was simultaneously working with it. So I had to react because some clients were like, this hasn't been changed, or this is changed now. So I need to make sure I'm on it, because it's one of those things, obviously, if you read a message and then you walk away, you just forget. Or so for me, yeah, it's there. I think Monday's the most clear of my weeks when it's like that. So I know I can be reactive at those points because I have to be, because I'm, like you said, they're my paying clients, they're paying for the service, and they're the bread and butter of my business and me being able to provide something, right? So that's when that shows up there in terms of being able to put out the fires. But I think sometimes, yeah, it's creating that time for it, because sometimes the time then runs away with me. You know? And yeah. There you go.
100%. And this is, you know, tying into what I was saying earlier about, you know, when you're going for your walk, maybe that's when you're going, hey, I'm not going to listen to an audio book now. Maybe this is when I'm replying to my clients via WhatsApp, or I'm doing my social media posts or whatever. Like, you're still doing these things that are important to you, you know, but you've given yourself that free time where you're actually giving yourself time to get out, get some movement, get some sunshine on your face, you know, get out with the dogs. But then, you know, you're also reacting to these other things that are coming up as well that have to get done. So that's what I mean by free time, you know, not necessarily like scheduling time where you can just sit around and do fuck all. It's like scheduling time where you're doing something for yourself, but you're also, you know, giving yourself that opportunity to be reactive and be able to put out those fires as they come up. And for me, like, that free time for me is like, you know, it might be spending time by my pool, getting some sunshine throughout the day where I'm replying to clients, I'm going through my social media messages, I'm replying to emails, and I'm doing social media posts and shit like that. Like, I'm getting that reactive shit done, but I'm still doing something for myself. I could be reading in that time, but then that means that, that reactive stuff I need to pick up somewhere else. So, it's just simply about prioritizing that. And sometimes, getting your reading done is going to need to push back to later in the day.
Leave my reading alone.
Hey.
I'm feeling attacked here.
I'm speaking from lived experience.
I know.
Because I love reading as well.
No, I'm just messing. And I think that's really is so true. Is then, having that designated reactive time is so huge alongside with what you're doing. So so a lot of things definitely for me to think about in those points. And I think just one key thing just from me and my learning just so far is with any sort of change and like any sort of uncertainty in the place that we're in is just having that time and patience, because obviously going from building a life for 8 years in Singapore to then coming into the UK, I'm almost doing what some of my clients have come to me before going, I want change now.
Yeah.
And because I'm so high on expectations of myself, is that when I'm not seeing it, it has sent me a month ago, it sent me in the other direction, because I was like, well, what are you doing this for then? What's going on? But the biggest word and learning from it is patience. Like you've got to do your trial and error, you're reactive, you're proactive. You've got to see what works, what doesn't work. And obviously this structure might work for you. And it looks like it will potentially work for me in terms of how both me and you are quite wired in that discipline front. But it's knowing then you can take something from what someone else is giving you and make it suit you and fit your life, right? Because it's then different when families come into the equation or corporate roles or whatever. So it's then knowing how do we fit this around you, I think is super important when we get onto that stuff.
Absolutely. And, we're always better coaches for other people than we are ourselves.
I've learned that recently.
Yeah, 100%. Like the reason I'm giving you this advice now is because I've literally gone through this myself over the last 2 months, where I'm still trying to figure out like the best way to put together my schedule so I can get, because I'm fucking busy as well. Like, I've got so much shit going on that if I'm not on point with my time management, then like the days just get away from me and I fucking work myself to the bone. I don't give myself any time, but, I know how important it is to give myself some time to, get shit done that is important to me, that allows me to, drive that parasympathetic state and rest, digest, relax, have a little bit of chill time. But also, stay on top of things and be a little bit reactive when I need to be. So, this is all coming from my own experience over the last 2 months and, figuring it all out myself. So, hopefully people listening, can, because a lot of people think that I'm really fucking disciplined, I'm really regimented and, structured, and I am, because I have to be, but I'm also very adaptable and very flexible. Like, someone spoke to me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and was like, hey, what's your plan next week, blah, 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 can I book in? And I'm like, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing next week. Like, my weeks change, like, every single week. No one week is the same. Like, I'm in fight camp with so many fighters at the moment. I've got a number of things that are constants on my schedule, like my combat strength and conditioning class at 9:30. That's a constant. My 8:15 class with my sponsored fighters. That's a constant. My general population clients on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's a constant. But then with my fighters, I try and keep them as structured and as scheduled as possible. But then, I've got some guys in camp for 2 weeks. I've got some guys in camps for 8 weeks, and there's always people coming and going. So, I don't have breakfast at the same time. I don't have lunch at the same time. I don't have dinner at the same time. I don't have clients at the same time. So, I'm constantly having to adjust my schedule. I'm constantly having to, be proactive with it, but also give myself time to be reactive with it.
Yeah, and I think it's really nice and I think refreshing just to have that, to bounce off each other as well. I think that's a message to everyone else listening too, is to really seek those people in your life who you can just reach out for, right? Like, obviously, I knew what was up. I was like, Sean, it's even just for me, I just knew I needed like a sentence or just something just to go and whip my ass into shape and actually just get thinking about it in a different perspective. And I think it's so true is reframing it and who you can lean on in those moments, who obviously I had no intention obviously to zap any energy from you, but it's like having that mutual kind of experience of trying to find that grounding in it. And I think that's the biggest thing for me now is the discipline. Like I was so regimented in Singapore, like the times my clients were there the same time every week, had breakfast the same time every day, lunch. So for me, it's like none of like the food is the same. And I think that's, again, something that you lose patience with sometimes, is like my eating times aren't the same and the food I have is slightly different, or what I was always choosing. And those, again, throw you off set as well. And I think for me, it was just important finding the initial things that grounded me. And that was, like we said, like reading, your favorite, training. I needed to get some sort of movement, or like the walking has really actually become an amazing outlet for me, especially because I'm a lot more internalized now. Like I'm not sociable as much every day at the moment. But yeah, I think it's really grounding yourself on the things that actually work for you, make you feel good initially. Focus on those things and then start building, like you said, everything out and keeping it as simple as you can with it, as you do it.
Yeah, that's a great point to sum up everything that we just spoke about. Is like, know what your non-negotiables are, have your constants in your schedule, and then build out around that and work in line with what your energy levels are.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Brilliant. There's a tagline right there.
Yeah, I know. I'm literally like, get my pen out. Thank you.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
All right, Lizzie, is there anything else I can help you with?
No, you're good. I'm going to go order my second whiteboard now because I need to change things up in front of me. Put that one on order on Amazon, and then I'm good to go. And then, crack on and, get things going on that next part now.
Brilliant. It is 9:10, so I am turning off. I'm winding down, and I'm going to get into bed and start reading now.
Okay. I'll see you later, buddy. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, Lizzie. Chat soon.
Bye.
Bye. This episode was brought to you by Swiss 8, which is a proactive mental health program designed by veterans, initially for veterans, that has been pushed out to the wider community, that allows you to structure in and schedule their 8 pillars of health and wellness, including nutrition, sleep, time management, discipline, fitness, personal growth, mindfulness, and minimalism. This episode was also brought to you by Be Spunky, which is a male hormone optimization supplement that I've been taking for about a year and a half, and I absolutely rate. It is a TGA listed nutraceutical, meaning that it's made from all organic produce to help you manage and optimize your stress levels, which in turn increases your ability to improve testosterone production levels naturally. Use the code COBES10 at checkout for your 10% discount. All of those links will be in the show notes. If you got some benefit from this episode, please make sure you pass it off to your friends and family. I'd appreciate any shares on social media platforms. If you tag me or if you share it to your stories, make sure you tag me so I can share that as well. Any 5-star ratings and reviews are much appreciated. Much love, guys. Peace.